it's just sort of the mundane, isn't it? Life is so full of the mundane. Life is the mundane, sadly, and that's what people want to deny. But in reality, people sort of think of sort of important things like falling in love, having spectacular careers, having children, going on sort of trips to new places, seeing new things, experiencing new things. People sort of think this is life and define life by the things that are not life. So life is making a coffee, life is taking a shit, life is eating a sandwich, life is boring, is the quotidian, and society implies that we should discredit our own existence. Is what I'm trying to say, and that's sort of what I would like to. What I think is important in literature and art is the conveyance of the natural, of honesty. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it makes sense. So what I'm trying to say, and I'm saying it inelegantly and ineloquently, is that people try to define themselves by what they're not, by what they are for a moment, whereas what people are, they are constantly. And life is a series of... Well, life isn't a series of disappointments. I'm not trying to be bleak. I'm trying to be realistic. So people are unhappy because they focus on wanting achievements and wanting narrative, whereas life doesn't have a narrative. There is a beginning and an end and a middle, but the middle is everything but the beginning and the end. And the beginning, there aren't chapters, there are defining moments. Obviously there are key things that happen, but they don't happen every day. And the things that do happen every day, people should just be more happy with the things that happen every day. People should be more accepting of themselves and of what they are. The thing is, I'm not as talented, I'm not as eloquent, I'm not as interesting, and I'm not as... Well, I've run out of words. I think that sort of emphasises my point, running out of words. I think it's important to try and become more accepting of the self, of who and what we, I, you, he, she, whatever actually is. And I am not and will not be successful and sort of respected, acclaimed, whatever. These are things that I will not achieve. I will not categorically. I'm not going to be the next Carlo Venausgaard. It's not going to happen. So, sort of even telling myself that I want to be is just bullshit, and that's probably why I'm unhappy, because I'm being unrealistic about my own limitations, and I am limited. I'm strongly limited. And that's everyone's limited. Life is limited. All life is limited. And happy people aren't people that are super successful and super busy. Happy people are people that have accepted who and what they are and the limitations of themselves. Happy people aren't people that are putting all of their thoughts and feelings and happiness and ideas. They're not attaching all of that to one thing, to sort of marking that their seriousness of their existence isn't to do with their life. Well, not what it is to do with their life. It isn't to do with sort of set achievements. Happy people are people who are just happy in themselves, in their life, in the quotidian. I often find it's sort of things like this are just so alien from sort of animals that we have on land. Like, look at that, look at the texture of it. It's silky, it's like a synthetic material. even though it's not. This feels like plastic, but it's not. It's a plant, it's an animal. And people are so inclined to presume that people have created things that they haven't, that people are responsible for the idea and the feel of plastic, of rubber. But this is, well, it's just chance. Even things that people have created by design exist in nature by chance, because everything in nature has appeared by chance. It's only things that people have made that have been designed. Obviously, a bird's nest, I suppose. Animals, living things design things. Living things design things. But there is more a majesty and variety and beauty in the world that has been created utterly by chance. That it's just a colossal waste of time to try and put any order or any kind of people are, I don't know what I'm trying to say. There is no order to the world. It existed long before people did, and will exist long after people have destroyed themselves. Just hopefully they won't destroy this. I mean, it's come of things. The sea, for example, it doesn't end. Look, as far as you can see, it's just water. It's nothing. Obviously, there's a boat, and there's the burnt out spin around. Well, it was in the other shot, wasn't it? The burnt out pier is beautiful, but that's something that man has tried to do and has been restored back to a more natural state. I think that's a much more beautiful sign, a much more interesting thing to look at than that pier, which isn't. I mean, I like the theme park at the end. I like the roller coaster. I think that's a nice gesture, a nice idea. But that decay, destruction, don't spin around again. Decay, destruction is much more. It's more representative of life. Everyone decays. Everyone ages, falls apart. I've been finding myself thinking a lot about death and decay recently. About how the body rots, and it's like I've had people, friends of mine have talked about back pain and things like that, and people are talking, and there are people I know that do a lot of exercise, eat very healthily, sort of changing their diets and things, and it's I don't know, it's just sort of depressingly a constant awareness that everyone is going to fall apart, rot and die, and so why should anyone bother to do anything? Why get up in the morning when one day I'll be dead? Why buy a book and read it when one day I'll be dead and someone else will have to deal with that? Like all the books I have, I think about this a lot actually. It's sort of, what is the point in possession when one day, I don't know, this is quite morbid. Really quite morbid, sorry. Okay, no, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. A stone with a hole through the middle of it. Someone just fell over, it was quite funny. Even though I've done the same thing. A stone through the hole of it. For me, for a human to do that, we need to make a tool. I could not do this with my bare hands. You could not, well, you certainly couldn't, you're small. I could not do this with my bare hands, but time and nature, well, not nature, bullshit, time can do that with no tools, with nothing. And time will one day reduce all of this to how it was before. Eventually, it will be like humanity was never here. And every life, every person, it will be like they were, what it is, like they were never here. Try and picture a dead relative. It's harder than you think. If you don't have photographic, you you will probably think of a photograph of that person. You will not think of the person themselves. The memory you're thinking of is... I realise this is very pretentious and completely stealing someone else's idea, but again, this is what I was talking about. That I'm not inventive enough to think of my own things to do, to create anything meaningful on my own by myself, and I never will be. I never will be a defining literary master. I never will be, and it's just bullshit. I know I will never feel I am good enough. I know I will never feel satisfied or happy in who I am, because there is all this pressure from the world that the mundane is not, your life is not good enough, and I don't want the mundane. The mundane is fucking boring. So this is really silly. I will throw that in the sea, and I will never find it again. Unreachable. And most people are unreachable. I don't know what I mean by that. Everyone boxes themselves in, closes themselves off. Most people don't want to open themselves up to fucking anything. To anything. People hate new experiences, people hate change, people hate... But yet we are also told that these are the only things that we must love and crave. It's all of these different pressures from different sides. I don't know, well I'm gonna... I don't have a conclusion, I don't have a big finish, I don't know. No, I'm gonna go for paddle, I'm gonna do it. I hate... there are a few things worse than putting a sock on a wet foot. Usually when my socks are wet, it's because I've been sweating. I think I sweat more on my feet than is healthy. I have quite sweaty feet. But because the rest of me isn't sweaty, that's why it's conspicuous. I don't sweat in my armpits a lot, but most relatively warm days when I get home at the end of the day, because I have a job, yeah. When I get home at the end of the day, I will take off my shoes and my socks. Quite disgusting, but I don't get that under my arms. So there we go, a light a bit. And I keep sort of saying how I think truth and sort of honesty and openness is important in literature, but that's not my own idea. Other people have had that idea before. I can't even create my own artistic framework. I have to steal other people. But I do think truth is important, and that's perhaps what I'm trying to do with this. But the thing is, I know how to watch it. No one wants to read my novel, which isn't about truth. Isn't about true things. Sort of, by the time I've sort of cemented an artistic notion, I've already sort of gone against it myself. It's just I'm not interesting enough, is the point. I'm not unique, I'm not eloquent, I'm not talented enough to be anything useful. And that's important, that's the point, that's the key point. I'm many things, but I'm not deluded. So you could also say maybe I'm lacking the self-belief that is necessary for success. But but you won't. You'll agree with me that I'm deluded. But if you're watching this, you know me. No strangers are going to watch this. You know that I'm a runty little country boy failure who's done fuck all in his life, and almost certainly won't turn that around.
Remember, this is a feel-like thing. Do whatever you feel like. If you feel like clapping your hands, you can do that.